Best of r/Tales from Tech Support episode 136. Subscribe for edit videos daily. I should have never called you guys. TL. Doctor. Troubleshooter calls off. Coworker and I assigned to one of his jobs. Customer wouldn't listen to us. We made it worse. Background. I work as essentially a sidekick to a fiber optic technician for a local ISP, and we do service installations for residential customers along with the occasional troubleshooting job. Yesterday our troubleshooting technician called off, so my partner and I got sent out to pick up one of his jobs. Apparently an issue with the customer's IPTV service losing signal every so often. The fiber optic network terminal device that the main line connects to is responsible for converting optical signals over to copper wiring and has one POTS line and one data port. Just so happens that the customer has phone service, internet and TV service, but only the TV service is losing signal on and off. An odd occurrence, but these things happen. Normally I would assume it's a router issue, as it is the most common issue we face with IPTV errors. However, the strength of the signal coming through the fiber to the customer's house was almost non-existent, somewhere around -42 dB. Our fiber service isn't supposed to work beyond a light loss of -30 dB. When we splice our fiber we usually aim for no worse than -26, and even that is pushing it compared to a more typical -16. When I say the customer's service was hanging on by a thread, I definitely mean you could throw a pebble at his main line and shut him down. As a courtesy, we replaced the house fiber cable and respliced it to the main line in case the issue was the old fiber. It was pinched bad in several spots from where technician who originally installed it didn't use any protective wrap and jammed it under the house siding. Still had the same light reading. Here's where fecal matter hits the proverbial fan. We pretty much got everything to the way it was when we arrived, but now his optical network terminal wasn't getting any signal at all. The guy was indefinitely without service. We eventually realized the issue has to be in the lines along the poles. My partner is qualified to drive a bucket truck, so I had to drive him just a few minutes away to pick it up so he could check out the poles. I found the customer to let him know we would be right back and had to check the lines elsewhere, and he immediately stops me. Customer: okay, so what you're telling me is this is much bigger than my house itself? Me: that's the way it seems at the moment. You're barely getting any signal to the house right now. Customer: I don't get it. You guys come here, you messed with my stuff, and now I have no service at all. Everything was working fine before you got here, so what happened? Me: I understand. We're working on trying to get you fixed up. It looks like something's up with your line somewhere between here and the distribution pole down the row. Customer: why are we the only ones without service then? Me: trying to explain to the customer that each house with our service has its own line coming from terminals on poles, even though he doesn't seem to want to hear it. Customer: I don't understand why you can't just put everything back to the way it was. Now we have nothing. We're in the dark here. We feel isolated. You took down our Wi-Fi, so we can't use our cell phones. I never should have called. We dealt with the same crap from rival ISP company. I know how this works. Now you guys are gonna reschedule 3 weeks from now to redo this. Is that it? You all need to send someone out here who knows what they are doing. You need to send an expert or something. Everything was working before you came here. Now you touch it and everything is worse. You guys just going to leave without fixing what you did? In between the guy's straight-faced ran to my face, I had to pretend I wasn't about to explode. I kept my cool long enough for him to finally leave me alone and let us work, you know. Considering we're still not even done troubleshooting. The customer made it clear he wanted everything just working back the way it was, so with the exception of the respliced fiber and a better model media over coax device. We put his old network terminal back in the mix and called the office to have them reconfigure it for the service they were paying for. We swapped it out for a new one earlier during the job, but it wasn't getting a signal, which is why his service went out entirely. The service came back up while I was on the phone with the office, and my partner and I went inside to verify everything was working. I heard the living room TV working as I approached the front door, and the customer was quick to say everything's working, guys. We made sure internet came back up as well as phone service. I was about to say we could make sure the other 4 TVs were also up and running, but the customer stopped me and went, no, that's alright. Hey, I didn't mean to be a dick, blah blah blah. So on and so forth. At this point I'm thinking, alright, this guy's okay. Was just an irritated customer is all. Before we leave, my partner explains to the guy that what we did at the house would work for now, but because of the poor signal in the lines it could still cause worse problems in the future. The only other problem we could pinpoint was a potential bad splice that may have just only recently gotten worse in the nearby terminal. My partner can run a bucket truck and even run drop lines to houses, but he isn't the splicer for those types of situations. We have splicers who have to be called out to deal with issues like those. I'm not entirely certain what all my partner said to the customer, but he did explain that it would eventually need to be fixed sooner or later if the customer didn't want his service to go out on him again. Even explained that it would be better to take his service down temporarily to fix the issue at its source rather than wait and risk service cutting out frequently until someone is available to fix the issue. Not 2 hours later, I see an email from work about a ticket from the same customer. Apparently sometime after we left, his service went haywire frequently and affected everything, not just TV service. A pretty solid indicator that there is simply not enough light coming through his fiber, yet there is nothing we can do except have the guy whose job it is to do that job. We were sent to troubleshoot the issue. If we can fix it, we definitely try to do so, but if we can't, our job is still to troubleshoot. Which we did. But the customer apparently wanted a new tech to come out and wanted one immediately. The soonest they could reschedule a different tech was midweek next week. That wasn't good enough and he wanted it ASAP. The call center tried to help by making it earlier in the day for the same date, and that still wasn't good enough. When it was all said and done, somehow it ended up being tossed back on us for Monday. Just great. Edit. Also worth mentioning that the existing fiber lines in the town we were working in were initially installed and maintained by the city, but were acquired by my company when the city decided they didn't want to deal with it anymore. Which also means that whatever crap job they may have done with the setup became our headache. Which means troubleshooting is a lot less predictable in the area where we were. Included the light level reading we got when we first arrived at the house. Thank you. Next. The tale of the PS4 and the corrupt game. This happened yesterday evening, and I couldn't think of a better place to post this. I run a small gaming store in India, and we've now starting to open up. It's been close to a week since we opened, and the customer flow is decent. Yesterday, I got a call from one of my customers, and he said that the game he bought from me doesn't work. Days Gone, PS4. Of course, no details were provided until I asked. He sent me a screenshot which showed the error. It said, the disc could not be read. Since it was a new game, I was surprised. I didn't ask him to clean the disc as that often makes things worse. I had a customer spit on a disc and clean it with his handkerchief. So, I asked him to come to the store. He bought his fat PS4 and I hooked it up and replicated the issue. After a couple of minutes of diagnosis, I did the obvious, I ejected the disc. And the disc was inserted upside down. I'm not kidding. This guy had a bunch of other games on his console, so it wasn't his first time using it. Instead of trying to figure out how or why, I just put the disc in correctly and installed the game for him. Once it was done, I briefly ran the game, showed it to him, and then shut the PS4 down. He thanked me, and before leaving he initiated a conversation. This conversation was in Hindi, so I'm translating a bit. $cast, what's top? $me. Ha, $cast, what is the top? $me, I don't follow. $cast, how do I know what is the top? $me, top what? $cast, pointing at the PS4, the top. Which one is it? And that's when it hit me. He did not insert the disc incorrectly. He had his entire PS4 upside down and inserted the disc correctly. After recovering from the shock, I explained how he could figure it out and also applied a piece of tape to mark the top. The guy left, and I wasn't sure whether I should laugh or be in awe of the guy. Thank you. Next. How our EUs lost their printers. I'm a senior network engineer in a school. Teachers as end users are typically a bit of a mixed bag, but overall everyone is really nice. For the most part. If something goes wrong IT-wise that causes mass inconvenience, they tend to come down on us hard, even when it's not our fault. Though I guess that might be a universal thing. In this story, however, it was our fault. Not our fault. Let me explain. In our school, all of our printers are shared out from a print server. A group policy in our Active Directory keeps them permanently mapped to every device on our network. All of our users can send to the print queue and collect it from any printer at any time of day, using their biometric scan to log into the printers. It's a pretty good system. One day, we had an absolute slew of emails from the end users. All of them very angry and not particularly nicely written. If I had to guess, I would say at least 60 in a 10-minute period. We were even getting emails from students. The printers weren't working. Whenever anyone sent anything to print, it would save as a PDF instead of going to the print queue. It sounded like the default printer on their machines had changed from our queue to Adobe PDF. Okay, that's weird, but not too hard to resolve. So I start emailing as many back as possible, explaining to them how to change their default printer. At the time I was a normal engineer, so I was frontline. In the background the senior engineer was working to figure out what was causing the problem. Then I started getting emails back saying that they couldn't change the default printer because the queue wasn't there as an option. What the hell is going on? I check my own machine. No queue. Huh. I turn around to the senior engineer and say, "What the FCK? Is there something wrong with the policy? The printers are missing from my machine too." At this point the senior network manager walks in. "What's up lads? Busy one today? Mental. The printer queue is gone." "What?" "Yeah, gone. It's like the group policy has gone wrong." I then notice a weird look on the manager's face when I mention the group policy. So I ask him what's up. Turns out he had been going through our group policies that morning for a project he was working on. Live. Yes, you read that right. He was making the changes live. He didn't make a temporary offline policy in its own group to test things. He just started fking with policies live. The senior network manager. Been working in IT for 20 years. Editing group policy live. He'd caused a conflict that unmapped our print queue. It had also temporarily allowed student users to access command prompt. To this day I have no idea what he had been trying to do to cause those two changes. He spent 2 hours rolling back his changes because he couldn't remember exactly what he'd done. In that time we had over 100 emails about the printers not working, despite sending an all-staff email explaining that they were temporarily offline, because that's the one thing you can count on with end users. No matter how nice they are, they won't read an email from IT explaining a problem. Thank you. Next. Do I need to contact the CEO to get you to fix my keyboard? I work on a support desk for a restaurant/retail chain. Most of my calls are from overworked, pissed off employees. With that in mind, I would like to tell you about Keyboard Drew. I got a call around the end of my closing shift from a manager who sounded very frustrated when I answered her call. "KD. This is the 4th time I call this week. I've spoken to the VP of IT so he's very aware. My internet down, nothing is connecting to the Wi-Fi. You guys need to send a tech to replace everything. I'm good friends with the CEO. Do I need to get him involved to get you guys to do your job? As she is making my ears hurt while on her rant, I'm checking the site's access points and see multiple devices connected to the Wi-Fi and have internet connectivity. Me. I'm seeing a few devices connected. Is there one in particular that you're having issues with? KD, my computer won't let me sign in. The keyboard won't let me type in my username. And before you even think about telling me, I've rebooted the computer like 10 times, changed the batteries, and nothing is working. Me. I would like to try a few other things if you don't mind. Can you please reseat the USB dongle? It's possible the keyboard is out of sync. KD stays silent. KD, I don't know what that is. Stop talking to me in your tech speak. Just send a tech to fix the internet. Me. KD, wireless keyboards don't run on Wi-Fi. There will usually be a small flash drive that connects to the computer. This correction angers her even more and I can hear her mumble obscenities. Reseating the dongle doesn't resolve the issue. So as a last Hail Mary, I ask her to send me a picture of the keyboard. When she does, I see the issue. Me. KD, on the top right corner there is a notch you can move. Please move it to turn the keyboard on. She hangs up on me and I go home. The CEO never came into the department to discuss the keyboard's internet. Thank you. Next. Lesson learned. Don't do favors for end users. A printing story. Let me set the stage. Young OP in his early 20s taking on his first major project. My company releases RFP for a print management solution and the vendor who won the contract, we will call Recoder, will replace all our existing printer, Lex. My scope as follow. Replace 5,000 machines across 1,200 locations. Introduce new label printing app. For those of you familiar with printers and print management, Recoder's product, although cost-efficient technology-wise, leaves much to be desired. One fundamental flaw for me when it comes to this manufacturer is how the printer communicates to the driver. Now when I solutioned the configuration of the printer, I had to put custom paper settings on each tray to accommodate the various types of paper we use to ensure toner adhesion to the paper, middle thick settings / alignments, etc. Thank you. Next. CEO is on site and says our tech support is crap. I used to do phone support for a device that was in a lot of stores and fast food joints. This device would get jammed all the time. I'd rather not say what device. And it would work great, but it had to be kept reasonably clean, which these places didn't do. I could walk somebody through clearing it in my sleep. This one store I called up, a small chain of East Coast retail / fast food, had reported a problem. The manager was the type I hate. She didn't want my help and didn't want to touch the device. She wanted a tech to come out. I pleaded with her to walk through clearing the device. Can I call you back if you're busy? It'll just take 10 minutes. She was extremely rude and said this thing is never working, it's jams all the time, just send somebody out here, and hangs up. Text sent. He arrives on site and clears the jam and cleans the device. Crap had spilled all over it. Takes 10 minutes. The CEO of the chain happened to be doing a store visit that day. He told the field tech, this is why we pay you guys thousands per year. The manager could have done that and also cleaned it. Our tech said we called them and offered to walk through unjamming and cleaning. The store manager says no way did we do that. The CEO says I'll get to the bottom of this and begins an inquiry. The field tech said the CEO was pissed and was talking about lawsuits if the field tech was lying. They contact my boss and they pull the ticket in the notes. They pull the recorded call where I pleaded with the Monsignor to walk through some steps. They read and hear everything I wrote about this rude Monsignor, who said just come out. The CEO gives a directive to every store that no one is to be rude and to help us out if we call so we can avoid a tech visit. Every time after that when we called, the formerly rude managers were very helpful to us, and it saved them a bunch of money on a tech visit. And they kept the things a lot cleaner. Thank you. Next. A call I took today. Update. Our systems team reviewed one of the other cases. Her iPad, a device she swore up and down could not be causing the lockout, is causing the lockout. Original. Edited a little for clarity. Also, I'm on mobile. You know the drill. Me. Thank you for calling. Tech support. How can I help you? Her. In an extremely holier than thou tone. I need you to unlock my account. This is the 5th time I have called about this and all you can do is unlock it and it keeps getting locked. I don't understand why this is happening and why you can't help me. I could see she called in 4-5 times over the last few days. Me. Okay. I see you've called in about this before. I've already unlocked your account. Do you have a few minutes to look into why your account is being locked? Huh? No. I know you can't help me. I've called in. Me. Interrupting her. You know nothing of the sort. You've never talked to me before. I'll ask you again. Do you want me to find out why it's being locked out? Her. No. I know you can't help me. I've called in 5 times already. I don't want to call in again. Me. I can't help you if you won't let me. Since you're refusing my help, I can't guarantee that you won't have to call in again. Your account is unlocked though. Is there anything else? Her. No. Have a nice day. Click. Me. Oh okay.